starting? Okay, Mr. Kantor, please begin with identification.
My name is Anshel Kantor. I was born in Kielce in 1920.
Poland.
I was living in Kielce to 1942. In 1939, when the war broke out, I was in Kielce with my family, and the family was 6 brothers, 4 sisters, and a mother. My father passed away before the war.
When you were?
And he passed away before the war, 1934.
From illness?
Illness, yeah. He
Illness.
passed away.
And your mother was the head of the family?
Yes.
And how did she maintain the family?
She maintained the family with help. She did some work, the same work what my father did. And with help with the children, she maintained.
What kind of work was your family in?
And we was in wholesale in fruit business in Kielce. My father was in that business. And
could you tell us a little bit about your family life, what it was like, the kind of school you went to, the neighborhood, your relationship with non-Jews?
I was living in a Jewish neighborhood because the synagogue in Kielce was the only synagogue on my street. So that neighborhood was very, very Jewish. It was not an easy life to live. It was a hard life to live as a family. It was a very hard life. And the circumstances was in Kielce. I'm talking about my town.
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish people couldn't do this what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
To 1933 was easier because the President Pilsudski, when he lived, the Jewish people got more authorization to go places and to do things. After 1933, the anti-Semitism was so big that we couldn't walk on the same street where the Polish people was walking. We had separate streets to walk. When we walk on that side, the Polish people would walk on the other side. They tried to disturb the people who was in business, like somebody had a little grocery or somebody had a little food store. They was thrown in bombs, smells bombs to the stores. They spoiled a lot of that merchandise.
And this happened very regularly?
And this happened from 1933 to 1939. Because in 1933 I was still young, 13 years, so a Polish school, I couldn't go. I went to a Heide. Because my father was religious, and in the Polish school they was wearing a hat with it's not a cross, but was cut as a cross. It was cut this way, that way. So the Orthodox Jewish, the religious Jews, or the rabbis give out that we couldn't go to a Polish school because we have to go to a Jewish school, a Jewish Heide. But I went, and this is what I learned.
You went to a cheder?
This is what I learned in Heide.
May I just ask you, what size was the town?
Kielce.
Yes. What size? What was the population?
And the town was 27,000 Jewish and about 70,000 Polish, about 100,000 people lived there.
That's a good sized town, middle.
Yeah, it was a nice town. We have all kind of. We have a Jewish paper in town. We have a lot of organizations, Zionist organization, the communist organization, Zionistic organization, Beta, all kind of organizations we had in that town.
And just one other question, was the harassment of Jewish merchants organized or spontaneous?
It was spontaneous from anti-Semitic groups. And to these people you couldn't afford a lot because most of these people, was a time that they was educated. And they came, they said something. And I believe that the Catholic religious
Catholics
was a lot of their fault because they didn't help no Jewish. They didn't spoke out in the church on a Sunday to help or to stay away, not to harm the Jewish people. And the German picks the right contra, let me say it. to do that kind of thing, what they did,
Mm-hmm.
they could do in Poland, not in a different country.
Mm-hmm. That's very important, you feel.
Not in a different country.
So you went to a cheder, I'm sorry
I went to
interrupted.
Al-Qaeda to 19, just after my father passed away in 1934. Then I went in and I was starting to learn something to do myself. When I was 14 years old. Not a big education I had. But I learned in the Al-Qaeda, and I learned 1 year. I went to school after my father's.
Mm-hmm.
1 year, I think, at the Polish school. 6th grade, 5th and 5th
Mhm.
grade.
And then you had to work?
And then I have to go to work and to survive, and to make some survivals for my mother, because for my oldest family, I wasn't worried because they could help themselves. 2 was 4 years, and the 4 year was making a lot of money. It was making nice money. And two brothers, one sister was married off.
Mm-hmm.
So the worry was about 4 me down, for me, my brother, and another 2 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
2 small sisters at that
Mm-hmm.
time. 3 and 5 or 3 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to learn some profession. So I went in and I was learning as an tileman from shoes, because in that time you couldn't have, there was two kind of professions,
Mm-hmm.
or a tailor,
Mm-hmm.
or a shoemaker. So it was 2 kind of shoemakers. A shoemaker, but he was making the upper side from the shoes
Right.
like this.
Right.
This was a shoemaker, but he was making, sitting on the chair and making the whole shoes.
Mm-hmm.
I was learning to make the upper side
Mm-hmm.
from the shoes. At that time, I started maybe, I don't know, 10 zlotys a week.
Mm-hmm.
This was like,
What would
like
it buy?
2 days to live for it.
2 days to live. Mm-hmm.
10 zlotys was not a lot of money. But
And
as-
you
as
went.
a-
You
as a-
went as an apprentice to a Jewish shoemaker. You were an apprentice. You were learning with a Jewish.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was
They
learning.
took in
Yeah,
work.
they took in people to, to learn the trade, because I have to learn something.
Excuse me. Is his voice loud enough?
Both brothers, one was also, he had a complete factory in that kind of work. The older brother, he was in the same business as my father was. So when I became 16 years or 17 years, I started to do the same business as my father did.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was more money, it was a time to make more money, but I could make it on the other
Sure.
job.
Mm-hmm.
The time was like from the spring to Christmas was a time that fruit and vegetables,
Your speaker. Your microphone.
that fruit and vegetables was grown, like strawberries, like apples, like pears, and blackberries. It was important, blackberries from Celts to different countries, and big barrels. So I went in to help them out and to do some in the same business as a percentage partner. So we went on just like the 2029.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that you could characterize the quality of life you had as a child?
What kind of life I had?
Yes, just sort of the tone or the...
My life as a child, I had, we was very, very close with the family. This was very sweet, everything that we had. To go over again, it was not an easy life. But it was sweet. We was together. It was very close. It was a big family. Because I had four uncles and 2 aunts. And every family at that time was 10, 9, 10, 8. 8 was the lowest, 12 children.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of family, a lot of cousins,
Mm-hmm.
And everyone from the family, you know, had something. One was a baker, one was a milkman delivery, one uncle. One uncle has a store from iron, like a hardware store. And from the inside, one had a electric bakery also, electric bakery in the 1930s, 35, 34, was one of kids, one of a lot of places in Poland to have something like this. So everyone who they was together, they was making a working living. Not an easy living, a working living. They had their customers, they went on the market to sell the bread, or they delivered the bread to some stores, you know. It was a very hard, but everybody...
So your picture is of family and work being the organizing quality of the picture. What about synagogue?
We had a
religious...
synagogue in our street.
Yes, were you very involved?
One of the nicest synagogues, it was in different towns. One of the nicest synagogues. And it's the whole Jewish population, the Jewish people where they live all around that street.
And was it a very important part of your family life?
Pardon me?
Was it a very important part of your family, specifically?
It was a very important party because I have to go to my father, should rest in peace. When he was alive, I have to go with him Friday to the shul, I have to go Saturday. And the younger brother went, my older brother maybe they was a little more older than me, so they went, I don't know, but I went.
Okay, so I guess we've come up to 1939, Mr. Kantor, and then...
In 1939, when the war broke out, I was living in a nice apartment with the family.
What?
With the family.
With your family,
yes. I was living because I was old, I was in that time 19 years old.
Do you remember do you remember exactly how you found out about this? Do you remember the moment when you found out about the outbreak?
The outbreak?
Yes.
The moment. I was on the market, and that because we have some places on the market where we were selling some goods.
Yes.
We had a store, but we were selling some goods. So when this broke out, we was on the main market. We was when the airplane starts. We saw some airplane. As a matter of fact, one of the partners, he was a big shot in Poland. So he said that this is our planes. So long we didn't hear it, they start bomb, throw down the bombs. They throw the bombs, you know, everybody was running away to hide themselves. At that time we know that the war broke out in 1939.
Mr. Kantor, did you hear in Poland about... Did you know that? Did you believe?
A matter of fact, that I was in 1940. I was taken by force in 1942, May 10. Because I have a pass that I can work, not outside, I can work in the ghetto. Because in that time, our group, we bought all kind of. This was a poor kitchen. By the shul was built a poor kitchen for the poor people. And the whole things what they need for that kitchen, what the committee needs. We was the delivery guys, like potatoes, like all kind of carrots, all kind of things that they need for a kitchen. I'm talking about that kind of product. We was our group make some profit. We sell it to the committee, and the committee took it into the kitchen. They was helping out people who really couldn't afford it and have a meal. So I was walking in the ghetto by 10 o'clock in the morning. One of the Sessman von Arbeitsring, you know what Arbeitsring is? Arbeitsring is the highest head in Arbeitsring in English.
I don't know. Is it work?
Like the employment and the employment office.
Arbeit. Yeah,
He was staying there by the police, and he was shown he had a cut off finger on the bow, I think. So for that reason, maybe he didn't come out to the front. So he showed one of the policemen, bring that kill over to me. That kill means it's a word to the Germans. So when I came over there to him, stand by him, and I took out my
papers,
my document, and I showed to him that I delivered some problems, but this is nothing. You got to go. So they took me into the police station, and before my sister could go down, because you see the police, they make a living from us. Mm-hmm. Because when we took in some official goods, we took in some unofficial goods to the ghetto. So they know which is which. So they got from every little transport, they got an amount of money, but they have to make a living too. So you know, you got to work with them, but not you couldn't do it. But this same policeman, he was very close to me. He couldn't do nothing. My sister tried to come down to help me, to go into the police. Before she came down, it was on both sides SS. They took us up on a big mm-hmm. railroad bus, like a big truck. Mm-hmm. They pushed in 112 youngsters out of my town. And they took it away to a concentration camp.
Could we go back from this moment to 1939 and just cover those years so that...
in 1939, when the war broke out, I did the same thing what I do before. Mm-hmm. We lived not in a ghetto. The ghetto stopped in 1941. Mm-hmm. So we could also, it was also difficult, we couldn't go down to the park because they were staying there, the Polish people, and they only looking for problems to hit Jewish people. So we had a difficult time. We couldn't go in places that we want to go. We got to go in places that were shown to us. You got to walk on one side of the street, you cannot walk on the other side of the street. And also the same problems was problems because when the Germans came in, they just pick up their heads. That time they had more power. Right. Because to a Jew to do something was just like a fly on the wall. Had more chance that the Jews to kill a Jew. It was not.
So you when the war broke out,
it was already very bad. As a matter of fact, that my brother ran away in that time. I couldn't run away. I couldn't leave the family. But my brother ran away to Russia. Because a lot of people run away mm-hmm. because they know what's going to come.
That's what I meant earlier.
I couldn't mm-hmm. run away because
right.
I couldn't live one of my older sister. And my mother with my
small
children. 2 children. I couldn't run, so I was staying.
How was it decided that your older brother left and you stayed? Was that a family decision or?
It was not a family decision, but he was afraid. He was a little on the political side, against Poland, and they picked this up and they're going to pick him up. They're going to send him away right uh-huh. away. Matter of fact, one of my brothers, they sent away to Bochobalt. He died in Bochobalt. They sent him in 1989 away. Uh-huh. My older one brother before me. Uh-huh. So this was a situation that he had to run away, and he was thinking that he's going to come in over there to Russia and that they're going to put him on the top, but they didn't put him on the top. A lot of people, they know him, so he had a really chance. But a different kind of people, but there was in the party, or there was something, mm-hmm. Against the Polish people. So they said, the Russians are saying, we don't need you here, we need you in Poland, but you came here. This is what I heard, talking to people after the war. They weren't treated as a party man. Mm-hmm. I did something. They were treated just as a beer, all kind of things. Mm-hmm. Of course, the Russians also doesn't go. It's not a control. Everyone can do it themselves. They put you into jail. You know somebody there. You give them something. They take you out from jail. I wasn't in Russia, but I heard stories from Russia. Mm-hmm.
So you stayed and you continued. I stayed from
1939. I was staying to 1941. We did the same thing what we did before, and we helped each other. In 1941.
And the neighborhood was closed off into a ghetto.
In 1941, they gave us a neighborhood that the shul was.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of the shul down, they gave us a place. This was the ghetto. They closed up, just like every ghetto in every town in Poland. And it was signs that you cannot go out, and we catch you outside, you get automatically shot. So we were staying in that ghetto. I was staying there from 1941 to 1942. We did the same thing. What we could get to that ghetto, we was buying and selling. What we can get in coals, we need coals. We can get in woods, we need woods. You know, anything what the Polish or the farmer or different kind of people, but they had big things with fruit, you know, growing fruits. What they was going through that ghetto, we could buy with them and bring it in. We try to buy it and to bring it in because we need to survive. We need to do the same thing because nobody's going to give us.
Right.
They're not going to supply us, they're not going to get it in.
So, Mr. Kantor, from 1939 to 41, everybody remained in his home and continued with all these restrictions that
All these restrictions, they come in,
But people remained in their home and were able to continue most
They
of
did
their...
a lot of things. The Germans, you know, you saw people like, I live close to the biggest rabbi Kelz. And he never went out in the street because he's had a bed like this. When they see people, these people with bed, you know, they hurt them in the street, they kick them, they all kind of things. Harassment was even before the ghetto.
Yes.
Even before
No, I didn't mean that life went on the same way, but some elemental things remained until 41, and then you were gathered into the ghetto.
Yes, you see, when the war broke up, we had a hard time from 36 or 35, a hard time from that time to 39. And when the war broke out in 39, that time we was collapsed completely. The Jewish people, they didn't have no rights. They didn't have no. It's a lot of things. They should just for hunger die out. Starve. Because nobody didn't care. They didn't care to help like they helped the Polish people. And this was a very, very hard time from 39 to 41.
Yes.
And at 41 came even a voice time because it was closed in.
Yes.
It was closed in. They came in. They could do what they want to do. They need people to work. They came in. They
People for what?
To work. And they need people to work. The same thing was in 39 to 41. They come into a house and they surrendered house and they catch young and old. Everybody got to go out and work. And by that kind of work, they was hurt or with the shovel or with the rifle or with all kind of things. And you couldn't say nothing. You're going to say something. He just pulled the trigger and he just killed.
What happened in 41 when you had to move into the ghetto? What was the feeling among people? What was the understanding?
It was a very, very sad feeling, very sad, because we know what kind of time comes to us. You see, the moment you get there, when you was free in that time, you could go where you want. You can go to the Russian side, you can go to the partisans. A lot of people went to run away from the house. They came into the woods, they went to the partisans, they went to the underground, all kind of things. But you was in the ghetto, was already not only the Germans you have to watch, but the Polish people. When you came out from the ghetto, they said they know who's a Jew, not a Jew. So right away they catch you and they got something for you. They got a pound of sugar. And the Germans took you away or they sent you away to a camp for good, but not to kill you right away.
So they would grab, you're saying they,
Polish people,
they would grab you to get goods.
To get a pound of sugar, and or they kill you, the Germans, because they want to show that you're allowed, you pass the line from the ghetto and you get shot. And not, or they send you right away to a camp, Buchenwald or Auschwitz. So you had a double things to watch. Not only the Germans, you had the Polish people too, because the Polish people was 50% in this war. And I believe was their fault. Not only all kind of churches. All kind, nobody opened their mouth. Nobody had opened their mouth and gave a little hope for the Jewish people. From a small town to a big town. Those people was living there for generations and generations.
Right.
And the Polish people listened to the Jewish people. And nobody was to open like in a big church. Or, they went every Sunday because they went three times a week maybe to church because mostly was Catholic.
Right.
The voice of people to do with Catholic people.
Yes.
The Catholic people. Because they're against the Jewish people. Who's a Catholic, he's just against the Jewish religion, the Jewish history.
So, Mr. Kantor, just again, I will try because it might be helpful. When you people were gathered into the ghetto, what was the understanding and the feeling and the planning among you? Within your family? Were there plans?
There was no plans. Everybody was
for
scared
protection.
to live through a night. Very, very scary.
And there was no talk of the future?
No. We know already from the ghetto, we know that it was unbelievable they're going to take away people like they took away from Germany. And they gave them all kind of nice stuff into the station, to bring to the station, and all kind of good promises. They come to Blanka, but there's supposed to be a place where they should live there. And they give them nice towels. They give them a piece of soap to go in to take a shower.
You knew this?
And they guess it. We know it not in that time, now in our time in the ghetto.
You didn't know?
No, but a little later on when I was even in Poland in a big concentration camp. That concentration camp was not for me, for the Jewish people it was like in a hell to live. I was living 2 years, from 1942 to 1944.
Okay. So do you want to tell us how that they took you?
When they took me in 1942, the 10th of May away to that camp, this was a Hassak. That Hassak was making ammunition for Poland before the war. And that kind of ammunition, when Polish people was working in that Hassak, and they was working by the powder, what they're putting in that kind of ammunition, that powder, you cannot live long, because that powder eats up your lungs. It's so
Poisonous.
strong. The chemical in that powder, that when a Polish guy was working half an hour, next hour he was sitting and drinking milk and all kind of fat stuff to clear off his lungs. So when they grabbed me there, I came into a big, it was there 3 different kind of concentration camps. It was Berg A, Berg B, like a boy, Berg C, three different concentrations. And Berg A, they was making the iron stuff. And Berg C, we was making that powder stuff. And Berg B, they have also with a kind of, one of the biggest things they have there, they produced potato chips. It wasn't that very bad. That potato chip, when you put in a little potato chip in the soup gets a little heavier. You know, but it wasn't a pressure, it was like something like in the food. And this they need for a lot of places.
Soldiers.
Who lived there, who can eat this, who ate this, he could have something more than somebody has in a different camp, because it's food. They had also some kind of different kind of production, little things there, little small buildings where they produced different kind of things. The main things was, the main two buildings was Weg A was, they was working very, very hard. And they didn't get no, that time, they didn't get no food. The soup was water. The Polish people, they could go out, they could come to work, and they eat. And Weg C was a dead camp. You didn't have to work for that product. When you was in the same room to sleep with these people, automatically, like you held in cigarettes, or smoking cigarettes. It's dangerous. This is 100 times more dangerous. People was coming back from work, they were sitting by the barracks, they take a rest and they turn down the head and they're dead. Just like snap. just like a snap. Very, very bad. I was, unfortunately, I'm going to say that I came in, this was built in 42, they grabbed us. So it was only one room, the one bed was there. So they pick up, and these people, my town, from different towns, but they bring people, they pick it up and they send it over to work C.
Work
Work
with?
C.
Oh, C.
Work C.
C.
When they send it over to work C, we start the building there, putting our barracks. Because there was nothing there, there was roots.
Mr. Kantor, could you tell us when you were taken? Do you remember that day vividly?
May 10, 1942.
And where were you and where was your family?
My family was in Kent.
Yes. Were you together or were you, when they actually took you, how did that happen?
I just said before, I had a passport, to show that I'm working for somebody. They didn't recognize it.
So they grabbed you and then you're...
They sent me in, they took me into the police, and both sides from the police was assessed with a big, I'm not going to say it was a bus, was a big truck, larger trucks, you know. They pushed in 112 people, that must be big.
Yes.
So you had no way to notify your family?
My sister, no, because the same police notified my sister that they took me with my passport. So my sister came down to run to the police, and when she came down, they didn't let her go even close to the police because the SS was staying on both sides, and they put us up on the truck. So when I came down there, I was transported to Werk C. When I came to Werk C there, was nothing there. It was not even where to sleep. So we built up the first barrack, we put straw on the floor, we put in the barrack maybe 100 people on straw. And at that time I was young, I want to run away. Because, you know, when I was there, still from my mother, my sister, the winter was coming, I get a pair of heavy shoes. This guy could send packages every week to the committee. They could send packages because that place was from our city about 40 miles. So they could send, as a matter of fact, they send every week, they send a wagon with food packages, like you get a package from home. They have bread, they send, I have a bread, you know. But I couldn't live. I was brought up in a very, very hard life. So I still could survive. Who was brought up in a very, very good life, they couldn't survive. They just was like fly. You know, they couldn't take that kind of life. It was a very, very hard life to go through there. So in 42, when I was there for 3 months or 4 months, like in September, there was the first transport they sent away from Kelts. That guy who came in with the trains to pick up all kind of stuff to that place, that guy knows, and that guy said they're taking away the people, and they're not going to come back no more. Because everyone get killed there. When I heard this, my mother went, my sister went, so I gave up my life at that time.
You knew that they went?
I know they went, and I know that already from the Polish people, we know that what they're doing to them. We know what they're going to do to them. So I give up just 1940, end of 42, because I know I'm not going to get no more packages, I know I'm not going to see more of my sister, my family. So, and I know where they went, we know.
Where did they go?
To Treblinka.
Treblinka.
So I gave up my life. I became just, I was not interested to go out, to stay in the line. I got hit for this, you know. I became just like a run-down person to give up the life. And I gave it up little by little, but the fact that I couldn't work no more. So one of my friends from home, from Kielce, when I came back from work, they came into my place where I was sleep. And they said to me, listen, Angel, you cannot give it up. Because when you're going to give it up, you never know in your life what's happened to your parents. Never in life, because you're going to be dead. Then we're going to help you to survive. Just like I'm talking to you. We're going to help you. You got to have your eyes in the back, be in a situation. See, they're off in the butcher business, you know, the different kind of. You got to have your eyes in the back and your ears open. And you go out, we're going to help you, and we cannot let you run down, and no matter harm. And they push me through. Little by little, I give it up, and I become back in the line because you know I got to go on or to die or to live. I have to make up my mind in the time. So little by little,
You recuperated.
I put myself. I have a cousin there in concentration camp. He was a roofer. He put on the things on the roof on the barracks. And they bring in, you see, people to bring into that concentration camp there. They send out 600 people, and they bring in 1,000, because in that place, this was the main station where all Jewish people went through. And they have to stop on that station.
What was the name of the station?
Skarżysko. When they stop on that station, when they have some people that they cannot work, or they are old, so they bring these people to the station, and they get youngsters down from the station into the camp back, because they had enough people to change. There were enough Jewish people at that time to change.
I'm sorry, I don't think I understand that.
Let me repeat.
Yes, could you? Maybe I'm the only one.
Let's see. In our camp was 1,200 people. We was working for that place. My mind.
Yes.
I'm back C. I'm back A was also there 1,500 people. And our back B was 1,000 people. I give you a number.
Yes, yeah, it's a good yes.
So when this 1,200 people was in my place,
yes.
when they saw 200 people or 300 people, or they catch a Jew with a talus and tefillin by work. So this kind of people they don't need. Automatically when came transport into the Skarżysko, automatically these people
were taken.
They was changing. Or when they have a change, most of the changes, they shut them right away in the place. These people, some people was lucky that they changed them, because this was the whole police there was Ukrainians. The voiceless people in the world.
Yes.
They came into that place, they didn't have nothing on. As a matter of fact, their shoes was tied up with a piece of iron wire. You know, you take a piece of wire and tie on because the soul came away. They came with nothing. And this kind of people could do anything what they want with the Jewish people. They catch him a couple of hours, they take him to the end of the camp, they shot him, they want to run away. You see, it was not, you couldn't, you got to be so, I don't know how we came this through. I don't know, really, I don't know. I was the only lucky guy with another couple people. Even I had a cousin there. He survived that camp and everything. He came into Kielce in 1946. They killed him in Kielce. He was killed in that pogrom.
Yes, we'll talk about that later.
So it was unbelievable to survive and to go through a camp like this, because as a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago I saw a fella, he came from Montreal, he's a builder on Staten Island. My little Teddy just started talking, I have a son Teddy. Started talking to him, you know, he came from Montreal, he was a builder there, he started building here. He said to him, where you come? He said, not close, very close to Warsaw. Where he was in the time of the war, I was in Skarżysko. He was in Wielka. He said, in Skarżysko, my father was in Skarżysko too, so he was dying to see me. A couple of days later, when he told me the same day, my son, a couple of days later, we passed by his job, he saw me, he followed me, and he asked me the same thing, where you was in Skarżysko? I said, you you came out from hell. But what said was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Because the suffering for the human being was so much. This is unbelievable. The suffering. Because when they went people into Auschwitz and they guess them, you know, they didn't suffer. People didn't suffer. They went through it. They went through because this was the way. It was a different way.
What was the worst part of this say?
On my place?
Yes.
That anybody can kill you. You don't know. You see, after 5 o'clock you come in from work, they got a couple of wagons to loaded off or loaded in. They came into the barracks, they took you. They took you to work. After 10 hours work of the day. They took you to work, they grabbed you to work, you went over there to work. And he saw they wear a pair of shoes on yourself from home. He took you away, he shot you, he took off the shoes. So, you know, this was, where you going, you know that you're going to be dead. Where you going? This went on from 1944. I was in that camp.
2 years.
Yeah, 1944, beginning of 44, we got in from a concentration camp from KL. Some people, because they didn't have no more people, because the transportation, mostly all of the transportation went away. And nobody came back. Came back from my town, came back from Treblinka. He's alive now. He came back. Fortunately, he sneaked into one of the wagons back and he came back. He's alive. He saw what went on there.
Who survived in your family?
One brother, Sam, who ran away from Poland.
To the Russians.
He's now in Florida. He lives in Florida now. He was living here in New York. He was in business together with me.
So you had,
He retired. He went to Florida.
from all the children, just 2 of you? So 2 years you were in this.
I was 2 years now, but a lucky guy, you see. I know how to turn around at that time, you know. You got to be psychology, you got to be all kinds of things in your head. You got to know how to survive. We don't know that we're going to survive because it was unbelievable. You know that every Jew. But still, so long you have a vein in your body, the blood is going through your veins, still you got hope. So this is the only hope that we had, but nobody believed, nobody. I was the lucky guy because I started over there and I started by the construction. So I was always on the construction. In my life, in my 2 years, I was outside. I was lucky that I had a typhus in 1940.
You had typhus?
Typhus. I went through because a lot of people, when they have typhus, they took
They
them out.
perish.
They took them out on a
Yes.
wagon and they shot them away. I was a lucky guy. As a matter of fact, two of my landslide, they survived because we took them out of our job. They was named, he was hiding them with 104 fever. Not to be in the place, because in the place they came in, they went into that little hospital, that little barrack where the sick people was laying there. It was a doctor there, and who was sick. They right away, they took him out, and we saw him every week, twice a week. But it was no help. We couldn't. It wasn't a situation nobody could help. Nobody helped us. Nobody could help. So it was my lucky thing that I was working on, you call it, on construction, Baustelle, in Germany. I was working on construction. And in this construction I came to work on, to the Gleis, to the you see, listen, suppose over there, like in every building, but for the production, was a small, not a railroad, a small, like little wagons they was rolling on the rails and the tracks. So in my construction, we picked up 12 or 15 guys in that time, and we went to work on the tracks. So we never was staying and do nothing. this was our luck because we had a commandeer, also from the Jewish guy, a good guy, he was working with us. And he didn't want because a lot of the SS or even the Lagerführer or the commandant, he came around the trees and you see that you sit to work.
Excuse me.
Take a little water.
No, you know what? You continue, please. I don't want to disturb you. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So when they catch you, we have a lot of Schlons people there were also anti-Semit. There was deutsche he was a German before the war, but he lived in Poland, like to explain it to you, correct. So when the Germans comes in, he became a full German already because he is a German.
Right.
So he lives also in Schlonsk, but they never saw people, all kind of Jewish, all kind of people, and they was very, very hard for the Jewish people. So when he was walking around behind the trees and he looked up, he saw that the guy staying. He marked himself which guys are staying. He came over with a shovel. He can break one of his hands. He can break his neck. And everything is broken there. You're not capable to work, you got to go. So you become hurt, they shoot you. They didn't give you help to see, to go through or something like this. This was the life. So I was the lucky guy, but I was working on that job, and too much people from that part of the place. We didn't have too much because most of it was working women's and a couple men's.
Yes.
The men's, to carry that big boxes.
Right.
When they put in there, because this was coming like small
bricks.
Small little bricks. You have to go in. It was a square like let me see it by you 3 by 3. 3 by 3.
Yes, I know.
This was the powder. The powder was to shoot out.
You stayed until 44?
I stayed to 44. Matter of fact, they sent away people before me from all the street places that put together 15 pieces, 1,500 people, 2,000 people. They sent them away. That time was a different time already. They need people for work. In 1944 was no more Jewish. They couldn't pick no more Jewish workers. They didn't have it.
Right.
So, but the situation changed a little bit because they need the work. They need the work.
Right. So labor.
Labor, but we didn't know. We know that we're going. Everybody that we're going to go.
You mean to be exterminated?
Yeah, we know because listen, it was already 2 years, and
no mystery.
You couldn't hide like this. Right. You couldn't hide because people was living around there, the farmers and all kind of people. You couldn't hide. So
in 44.
I'm talking about 44 when they took the people with the transportation to kill them, like in Treblinka or all kind of camps. So 1940, this happened in 1942, September. In 1944, the Polish people already, we know from the Polish people where the people are going. So we had the same chance, we didn't have a different chance. Not only who his mother, his father's father was a Jew. He had no chance. Find out, no change.
You were in 2 camps afterwards?
Wait a minute, I'm going to come to it. So I came in 1944 when they took away the first transport from us. I was staying because they need people still to take apart stuff there. So to go, I said myself, I always have time to go. Let me continue. How long? Maybe I'm going to run away. Maybe I'm going to, something going to happen. I still have more chance to go. I don't know where they're taking the people. They took the people to Chancellor to a place like this, like we had there, to build that kind of ammunition. So they were lucky. They survived. They are lucky, really. When I came, so I was between, let's see, in our place I was a couple hundred people left. to liquidate that factory, to take apart all kind of machines, to transport them away, all kind of things. So I was from the last transport, and it was left by 250 people by us. So I gave you only numbers. 300 people in the Yale camp and about 200 people in that camp. They put us together, they put us on wagons, and they took us to Chancellor. Chancellor couldn't take us no more, they didn't have no place. So they sent us to Buchenwald. I came into Buchenwald. A matter of fact, the whole commandeer of Buchenwald was one of my brother's friends, the commandeer. But I didn't know that time, and I will know that time I didn't have to go no places, because he was the controller from Buchenwald.
Polish guy?
He came in, a Polish guy, from my town. He came in with my brother as politician to Buchenwald.
As
As a
political prisoner.
They broke up the prison. All criminals, all murders they let out. The Jewish people who was political, they sent away to Buchenwald in 1939. One of my brothers was sent away at the time he died in Buchenwald. And he was my brother from the police. He became the big.
So it was a couple.
He was not a couple. He was on the communist side. They controlled Buchenwald. When the SS need something, they come to them. They didn't kill no people. They kill people. When somebody came out, I came out and I said, this policeman was a rough guy. He kicked a woman, she was pregnant, in camp. He got killed from them. They cleaned him up right away. You know what I'm talking about? Because he was a couple. That policeman was a couple. They called him worse than a couple. He wasn't a couple. The Communist Party run Buchenwald camp. Not bad. No, he wasn't there to kill people. He was a liberal guy. I'm talking about I know him before the war. I can't tell you what he was in the war. And I know his name, and I know how his look was.
What is his name?
Treister. And he knows me too because he came into the house. He came into the house. I was 4 days in Buchenwald, and I didn't want to stay because, you see, my things was to go to run different places. Maybe I find somebody.
Looking for somebody.
This is my imagination. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this.
Who were you hoping to find? Your brothers, sisters?
Maybe, I had a younger brother. Maybe he ran away. Maybe he's someplace in a camp or something.
So that's what kept you wanting to go.
So this was in 1944. I came to Buchenwald and I didn't want to stay. So they asked for people who knows kind of work. So they asked for the same kind of job to do in Flossenburg, in a German camp, to do because they want to build the same thing what they had in Poland. They have to give it up. They want to build it there. The F2, they had the F2 was something to shoot out. You could hold it on your arm, you shoot it out. This was he was producing F2 they call it. So they call up people. They know that kind of work. So I pick up my hand after 4 days. And I went there. I went there, it was terrible.
It was
Assess on every person was an assessment.
on every
person that come there was an assessment with the German dogs.
shepherds.
Unbelievable. And the mud was too here. You're going into the woods, to build a big place, and they're going to bring in the machine and they'll make the same production what we did in Poland. So we went over there and we was walking. We had a very, very hard time there too because we could carry a big piece of iron, how you call it, that what you put on
Track.
the tracks. 2 people. He was sitting on the track, and the German dog bite you in the teeth. Terrible to go through. But we built up something. As a matter of fact, we built up something that time that we put on the roof. We put grass, and on the grass was putting up trees that when the plane's going to come.
Camouflage.
They know that this is some
Hideaway.
to hide it. I was working there from it was end of 44 already, 1945 beginning, by a nice couple months. 1944, months and a half, because 1945 already I was a month, by 2 months I was working there. We was building up the place, everything went night and day we was working there.
Mm-hmm.
The American place came, 4 o'clock in the morning. Everybody was asleep. And they straight out that place just like that floor. A matter of fact, that the roofs in the barracks, in the bombs, but they throw down, the roofs in the barrack came up. We saw the sky. We didn't saw no more roof. And I was sleeping on the was built there, beds, and 3 floors.
You mean 3 levels?
3 levels, 3 floors. I was living on the 3rd level always. And I just fall down from the level. And I want to put on my pants. My sweater I took, I had to put on the sweater here, I put my sweater up here because I didn't know what I was doing that time because you saw out was a fire in the skies. And they keep us another little while there, and later on they give up and they took us about 1,200, 1,500 people. They put us up 110 people on a wagon again. 2 wagons when it was behind that transport for that people. Because every day they came in and they opened that wagon when 2 or 3 people was dead. So we got to carry them out and put it to the end of the wagons.
Mm-hmm.
And they filled it big. When the 12 become 11, when the 11 become 10.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through Czechoslovakia and we couldn't go no places. For 4 weeks, 3 weeks, we were staying in Czechoslovakia from one place to the other. We went up, it was bombed. We came back, it was bombed. It was already close. This must
45?
be 45 in March already.
March 45.
March 45, yeah, March. So about 4 weeks, they took us for 3-4 weeks on that wagons back and forth.
So
and
that was already when the war had turned.
But we didn't know towards people, but there was in Celts, or there was in Niederschlesien, there was no kind of thing. It was after the war. Because in March, February, March was before the Russian came in.
You didn't know that the Germans were losing.
We know already, we know, we saw it, we know. We didn't have no radios, no communication, but we know.
You
Did it
sense?
give you hope?
We got hope, but we didn't know on the end. My wife has 2 brothers who came, but the last work, they were shot. But the last work, maybe 2 or 3 brothers. So what kind of hope is this? You know, you don't know so long you are free. But so I don't know. She mentioned this to you yesterday.
Well, we weren't here yesterday. Someone else
But she
interviewed
mentioned
her.
that.
I'm sure
she went also through. So when I came in, this was in March. We went a couple of weeks from the 12 wagons become 4 and 5 and 3. We came to this 250 people. They're bringing 250 people in April. On April 27, there was no place. They bring us into Mauthausen. You heard of Mauthausen?
Sure.
When they bring us to Mauthausen, there was 2 kind of camps. One was a large camp on the hill, but over there was 5,000-6,000 people. And one was a low camp on the bottom for gypsies and Jews. The people came into the Jewish people came in there. From there, they took them out. Over there was too much people. They took them out, and there was gas.
How many were there in the lower part?
Also, I don't know, 2,000, 6,000 was in the big camp.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came in there was not even there places to lay down. It was laying 2 on a bridge. Not 1 on a bed, but 2 on a bed. One on that side, one on that side. I was there 3-4 days. 5 days. They call up to sign off who wants to go to the big camp. Up to the bigger camp from the small camp. I was staying in the line to sign up. Came over a little boy. You know, they keep the little boys for our messengers. You know, the couples. You know what I'm talking about? Come over, little boy, in the front of me to his uncle. He said, Uncle, uncle, come out from there. Don't stay there. He said, why? He said, you're going to go out to the big camp. They're going to gas you. Come out. Here, you're going to survive. And I heard this. I could go out. I could go out. And I gave it up. I didn't want to go out. Because I saw in that time, you know, after the transportation, maybe I have 100 pounds, 105 pounds. But when I was free, at that time they took me, I couldn't walk. They took me into a hospital, the Americans. I was lucky they took me into a, because a lot of people, they didn't know, they had board on the jeep, they gave them board. They have chocolate, they gave them chocolate. They eat board, they got all kind of sickness from that later. Because they had nothing in the stomach. So I went up, that took off all complete our clothes off. We was walking maybe 2 miles without clothes, without everything. Freezing weather because it's on the hills. And April's still there. End of April, beginning of May, is still freezing cold weather there. So they took us into a barrack 4, and they put us in. The people was laying just like you see. Yeah, like you go in to buy a herring in a store, I give you all the things, one by one. And from the bodies, one body to the other body, we had the heat to survive. Because we had no clothes. They should take us in to gas that time, but it didn't work. It didn't work more on the camps because they had outside laying maybe 10,000 people. Dead people, you know what they're supposed to be burned. A whole hill. So we was laying there for a couple of days, and we heard that a bomb a couple miles from that camp. And little by little we saw less Germans. But the Germans, you know, there was around a lot of Germans there. But everything was normal. And little by little we saw on the 6th of May, we went up on the crematorium on the top because it was a big building. We saw that the little town left of this, everything, the gas station, the suppliers, everything is on fire. And the 8th of May, the Americans, the first American came into that camp. They didn't believe it.
In what?
In that camp, in Mauthausen.
Yes.
They didn't believe it.
They didn't believe it.
I was there still laying to the tent, I think. In the tent they came in who couldn't walk.
And the 10th?
On the 10th of May, they couldn't walk. They took them out on stretchers to a building. And an American doctor took care. American doctor, they gave me even the card. I have some places card. He took care of me. I had at that time maybe 96 pounds, 95 pounds. Nothing but skin and bones. No teeth. My teeth was sitting out.
Yes.
With a rifle and a thing because he came. He wanted me to work hard. He didn't catch me not working. But you know, he wants to have this in 5 minutes to throw it down a burner with the little stones. 5 people that just have to take an hour, not 5 minutes. We did it in a half an hour. How we couldn't, we did. We tried to do it not to get hit because we know when we're going to get hurt, we're going to break off an arm or a leg. He's something like he's shooting right now.
Right. Mr. Kantor, how long did it take you to recuperate?
It took me a couple of months to recuperate. A couple of months. I didn't recuperate to 1946. 1946, maybe 47, I begin. It took me a little while. But to start working, took me a couple of months.
Yes.
I went home back to Poland. I was one day in Poland. I came into my apartment. Come to that apartment that I lived before, where the shul was. So everything stays there, all kind of furniture, but I recognize. And the Polish people, the super lives in that apartment, no? And I just walked away.
Was that the first, I'm sorry, was that the first thing you did after you felt strong to go back?
You see, let me say something. It was May, June, July, but July, August, they came out to register over there in that camp. Sure, who was healthy, who could work like the Russian people? They could work, they went, they robbed, they killed the Germans, you know. You couldn't do nothing. You're sick yourself. I couldn't work. They took advantage because they had like 48 hours or 72 hours to do what they want. They could burn our house with all their family. But a lot of the Russian could do a lot of things. They did a lot of things. But you know, a Jewish person, when I couldn't walk, I couldn't walk. It took me 2 months maybe I could stand up and start walking. With good medication, with starting little by little foot, you know, to put it in my system, and to little by little to come to myself. So when I registered myself in 1945, where am I going to go? I'm going to go back to my town. Maybe somebody going to come to the same thing, maybe. I came back to my town. That was the 24 hours and I couldn't take it. I took my future brother-in-law, I don't know he's going to be my brother-in-law, with another 3 friends from Kielce, in the event. The transportation was at that time, no transportation. They had like wagons with coals, you know, the transportation, we went on wagon with coals. We came down to Gleiwitz, to a town, but one of my landsmen took over a hospital with a doctor, a German doctor. The doctor did the work, and he took over the hospital. He get paid, not the doctor. You know, he took it over. And when I came down there, I had like in the army, they wear the shirt, the yellow, with a pants. That's what I had. Maybe underwear too. That's what I had in my possession. He came down to him, he opened the closet for us. Sein Schkoski was his name. He knew me from hand. He said, take out anything you want. In the meantime, help yourself and have clothes, because the fall gonna come. So we took something, and also how much money you need, just like I'm talking to you. You need 1,000 zlotys, you need 2,000 zlotys. We didn't have no money. In case that hadn't that time money, so you got to go through a committee, and that money comes from Warsaw, and they could give you that time 100 zlotys, but I didn't even want to wait and register myself at the time. So he gave us some money. We went in the world just where a camp is, we went to look. So we came into Niederschlesien. It was a big camp there, and women's. This was already August, September, May, end of September. Because I was one day in Kielce, and I could stand up. I was walking. I came in and after walking 7 miles from the town to that camp, we was walking. And when I came, you know, it was still warm weather, so I took off the shoes by a little river with my friends. And we were sitting down there, we put in our feet in, you know, to cool off a little bit, and came over there 3 or 4 girls on the other side of the river. It was my wife and her 2 sisters, and another girl. And we started becoming, you know, asking all kind of questions, so we stayed there for a couple of days, maybe longer. And we had plans to go different camps, different places. And we was in talk with the committee from our town, because anybody who passed by, they put it on a list. They want to know where you lived before, what street, and who your father was, and who your mother. You know, you got to register yourself, because they want to, maybe somebody going to come from your family, so they can tell them, listen, Angel's alive, Sam is alive, you know, something like that. So we was in touch, and we were staying there. I was staying there, I think. Yeah, I went over there to a doctor, still under doctor's care. The doctor's care, because And in 46, when we already could, so you know we have property there, property from parents, property from uncles, what came out and you can sell it. So I went down with my brother there to Kielce for a couple of days. And when the fact that I left, I didn't know it was going to be a pogrom. I never will let him stay there. Well, who gonna believe, something like this going to happen? So we went over there to that bakery place where my uncle put in a fortune there. And only to see it. And that Polish people, they come together and they said, they took away a child from 7, 8, 9 years to the farm. And they said the Jewish people, what isn't the committee, killed that child, that they took the blood for blood, for matzahs, for Pesach. You know what Pesach is. So I left Sunday morning there. I turned up the radio Wednesday morning. I hear that kind of news. It's a pogrom in Kielce. I didn't want to listen to nobody. And somebody took me to the station, because still I got to go 7 miles to the station. I come to the station, I have to wait 2 hours for the train who's going to come. And you're going to take me to a bigger station. From the bigger station, go straight to Kielce.
You weren't afraid to go?
Listen to me.
Okay.
I was staying there on the
Platform?
waiting. My wife comes over with her bike. She was already, I think she was pregnant with Dylan in 1946.
So you got married after you met her there?
Yes, I married with her, and my other brother-in-law, my future brother-in-law married his sister, and another guy married.
Yeah, you should hold it up, I think.
This is
right here.
This is my friend's.
Like this. At the edge, right.
This is my friend's one become a future brother-in-law.
What's his name?
This one become a future brother-in-law later with one of my sister.
What's his
My
name?
wife's sister. You got it? So when I heard this happens, I was waiting there. My wife came down with a bike and said, please don't go. Because we heard it in the radio. From Częstochow to Kielce, but heute Marsch in Częstochow was a big anti-Semitic town because the Matke Boske, who know what the Matke, the Jesus, is the mostly piece of the Jesus in the Częstochow. And all the Catholics, all of them, they live in Częstochow, the big anti-Semitic. But before you're going to come from Częstochow to Kielce, they're going to see your nose, you're a Jew. They're going to throw you out from the... As a matter of fact, they did this. And when I talked to my wife, I said, no, I'm going, I don't care, I'm going. A guy walked over in a uniform, a Jewish soldier, Russian uniform. He saw that we talking, arguing in Jewish. He said, mister, listen to me. I just came from there. Don't go, because you're going to get killed before you come there. And your brother run away, or your brother going to be alive, it's just the same thing. You're going to live, you're going to live. And not you're going to get killed before you're going to see it. So she made me to come back and listen to her. I went back. Thanks God by a nurse, he was hiding behind a big guy, and he survived. He survived the pogrom. And after that, when they run up to the house there, they put all kind of furniture to the door. They shouldn't come in. They couldn't open the door to go in and take out the couple of people that committed there, but was left. But when they took everybody gathering there by the building, you see, over there in Poland, you have a building. You don't have a backyard, but you have a big place like a, you know what I'm talking about?
Plaza. It's like a plaza.
Yes, you have like a.
Mark.
No. You have a building. They don't have grass and backyards, all kind of things.
Oh, are you talking?
But they have like you have a patio,
Courtyard.
like you have a patio here. So they have some places in every building. They have something there. So on that place, the Polish people came out with all kind of instruments. They killed 42 people. They killed
42 people were?
They killed pregnant women.
You think it was from fear, out of fear?
You heard the story of why they killed, because they took a child away and they took the blood to make
Right, but that's created. That's the old
that way they create, and that way they create a pogrom.
Right. But the real reason, do you think they were afraid?
I have a cousin, I survived with him in Hassak, in the same camp. He got killed in 1990. I have a picture of him. And he got killed also in 1946 in the pogrom. His name was Sokolowski, Helen Sokolowski.
Mr. Kantor, what happened then in 46?
After the pogrom?
What happened to you and your family?
I didn't want to say no more important, because, you know, we were still in Poland with guns under our pillows, every one of us.
Still so afraid.
So by 1946, by end of 46, we went through the border. The border to go through, you have to pay money because legally you couldn't go. The Haganah was walking, the Jewish Haganah was walking from Austria to Israel to bring down people, or to bring it down from Austria to Germany. But they couldn't walk from Poland to bring it down to Czechoslovakia or to Austria or to Germany. So I was there in 1946. Not a long time, maybe another 2 months. We packed everything with my brother. We paid the guy an amount of money he should take out of the border.
What about Hayas?
The highest was working in Poland, the highest was working in Austria, in Germany, all over, but not in Poland. Because they are right, what they did, they don't want no Jewish people to be left in Poland. Because who was left in Poland? In Warsaw maybe you got 200
Right.
They're mixed marriages, you got nobody, you got not too much people. And the Haganah was interested to bring the people to Germany, because to Israel they couldn't bring it. They bring some people, but they had enough people to bring Israel illegal. So they want to bring the people to Germany. They respect it's going to become a state of Israel. Later we're going to bring down the people to Israel. It was working by plans, everything.
What about the Partisanim and the Bund? Did they anything do after the war to help the survivors?
Let me tell you something. The biggest help comes from the American people. Come to Warsaw. Warsaw was the biggest city in Europe. Warsaw gave out the amounts of money to the city, the biggest city, the smaller town. Everywhere was for people. From the money, they gave out the proportion of money they gave out to everyone. When they came there, they need $50 or $100, or I don't know the amount of money I never took, I can't tell you. From the clothes that came from the United States, they shipped ships with clothes. And a lot of money too, I'm not going to say a lot of money. So, in 1946, 47, when I was already in Germany, I was established. So when it came there from clothes, they said, this is a schmatten. You know what a schmatten means? This is a schmatten, Ansho doesn't need it. And the good stuff we need for ourselves. You know, I didn't need it, really. I never take it because where worse things got, I help myself. I don't need no help. I help myself. I help people, a lot of people in my life.
How did you help?
Financial and business I put them in, and our people. And for my landslide, anytime they need some help, I'm the person to be called. We have a society here. In New York, we have a
Yes, I
society.
understand.
As a matter of fact, I raised just 2 weeks ago, I raised $150,000 for Israel. I was the raiser.
So you're active.
I raise every year more. I was raising before for Israel money in 1967, 63. I was in the garment center involved because my business was buying goods in the garment center.
Did you ever think about moving to Israel after the Holocaust?
I will come to it. So in 1963, when the war broke out, in Israel was a big shock for us special, for everybody. So I myself wasn't involved in an organization or in a congregation I was by myself alone.
You mean 1967?
1963, 67 was the second war. 63 was the first war?
56 was the first one. The first one in Israel? 49.
49 they took out, yeah,
Right.
63 was it. I know, 67 was another one, 4 years later.
53.
56 and then 67. The Six-Day War was in 67.
67 maybe, right. 1967, when I heard a war broke out in Israel, the situation, I went out to the garment center. I collect in 2.5 days $250 million at that time. A lot of money. People, they give me money, they never leave me receipts. Like everybody, every dollar that I took there at that time, I make him to buy bonds. Because I know the bonds, there's $250,000 going to go into Israel, for Israel help to develop all kind of things. And I'm going to give it to the UGA. As a matter of fact, I was working for the UGA for them. And I'm going to give it to the UGA, it's going to come into Israel a half. They're going to be lucky. I know the money doesn't go because all kind of expenses and all kind of contracts. The UGA have to help. What are you asking me for?
Well, after the war, did you decide to go to America, or did you think about moving to Israel?
I had a story about that. So 1946 and 47, when I came into Germany, I opened myself a kosher restaurant.
In which town did you?
In Passau.
In Passau. That's in Bavaria.
Yeah, in Passau. I opened myself a restaurant. I took in one of my brother-in-laws. The other my brother-in-laws, I have two Hungarians, because in a kosher restaurant you got to have a meshgiach. You know what meshgiach is?
Weren't there DP camps at the time?
No, I was living in a little town, Passau. Poking was a big camp.
Yeah.
You know, Poking was a big camp. I was living in a town, a small town, not a big town. When I will be in Munich, maybe I will become a millionaire there. But I was living in a small town because my two brother-in-law, Saul and Hermann, the other brother, they lived already with their wives in Passau. And the president in the town was a Kelzer, and his name was Robel. And he heard that I'm in Austria and I cannot come over. He wants to come with his jeep to Austria and to bring me there. He wants me to be in Passau. So, you know, you go where you got somebody, you got relatives, always. So I didn't went no big cities and big things, big places there. So when I opened my restaurant in 1946, I became the first immigration visa to go to Canada, Toronto. The first one from my uncle. I have an uncle from my mother's side. And when I became that visa to go, I was the luckiest guy in the world. I'm going to go down. I have still a couple cousins, and still a family there. The only family that I have left because they left in 1929 or 28. They left to Chicago. From Chicago, they moved to Toronto. I don't know, but they live in Toronto. When I went to the Canadian consul, I was rejected. They took my X-rays, my chest X-rays, and they gave it to a Ukrainian or to a Polish guy, but he was sick on TB. They make him for the healthy guy, and I was the sick
We
guy.
exchanged him.
I couldn't go. And every 3 months they called me to come, and every 3 months I have to leave my place with my partners, because I have partners, and to go through again examinations. But the examination just went by from 1947 to end of 48. And Israel became Israel. And then 48, end of 48, right? And in that time, in 48, they opened the doors to the United States to bring in some campers from some refugees from Germany. So when I was there by that commission, I went into that consul, an American consul, a Jewish guy. Nice dressed, beautiful man, he was talking of perfect Yiddish. And I said I was crying for him. Simple. I can go to the United States, but I don't like to go to the United States. I would like to go to my family. That's what I have left. He said to me on the shoulders, listen, one thing I can tell you, when you're going to come to the United States, you can go to any place you want.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to Toronto, you can go any place you want. But you can go to the United States, go. Don't worry. At that time I had 2 children already. I had Isaac and you, I had 2 children.
So what was really important for you to be close to your family?
Listen, you want to, you see, I was raised in a family very, very close.
Yeah.
And you know, this something like this, you're missing it. You cannot just forget. You know, how rich the family may be, you're not so close, but how poor the family is, maybe you're more closer. You know, it was a hard life, it was very close with the family.
How old were your children at that time?
Eva was born in 47, and Isaac was born in 49, I think, before I came to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 49. Eva was born in Germany, in Passau.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came down here, really, I was surprised.
To New York.
I had a lot of help.
So what was the year when you...
1949, the 3rd day of November. I really appreciate that kind of work, what I did. The Hasak was a big help. I had nobody was waiting for me. They were waiting. They took me in a car. I came to New York at 12 o'clock from Boston. Because we come with General Sturgis, a big ship, military ship.
Mm-hmm.
When I came 12 o'clock, I went to the Times Square and I saw that every store is open. I said, what goes on here? What is here? But this is the American life, American style. They took us into a hotel, Hotel Emerson. No, they gave me 1 room, they gave me 2 rooms. With their 2 children. And I couldn't stay long to sit in one place. After 2 weeks, I got an apartment in Brooklyn. They gave me an apartment. I took anything I got to go.
And your own.
No. After this, one of my friends came up to visit me in the hotel. He came out from the rabbis in Sosnovitz, Rabbi Engelhardt. He, as a matter of fact, he's here in Brooklyn someplace. He's a relative, and he was a very close friend of mine in Germany. Became a very close friend. So he came up to visit me in the hotel with the 2 children. He said, what are you going to do? I said, what can I do? I cannot talk. I'm blind. What can I do? He said to me, you know, Anshul, I took a job for 75 cents an hour. You would like to go and work? I said, I work for free, but not to be in the house. So my place was in Brooklyn. I was working in Washington Heights. And I'm effective. And now I have to go, and now I have to go back.
What was the work?
Mirrors. We was assembling Chinese pictures mirrors. It was not only mirrors, it was advertisement for Coca-Cola. You see a big frame with an advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
Then Coca-Cola with a glass in the front, and sandwiches, the prizes and all that. That kind of work I did for right away, from 1949 to 1950 to 52, beginning of 50. And I think I said that he was also a guy that he came from Częstochowa before the war, the owner of the factory. So I said to him, I cannot go on like this. Because I go home, my kids are asleep. I go in the morning, my kids are asleep. Sunday I'm working, I got only one Saturday. Make the story short, I have to have a place here. He promised me for 2 months, but I didn't get it. He couldn't get it, not that I didn't get it, he couldn't get it. He tried. And I gave up the place. And I went, close in Brooklyn, I found a job as a carpenter. Because a little orientation as a carpenter I had when the concentration camp, but I was working by that. As a construction man. So I know small details from the carpenter, and I started working by new steps to new buildings. I worked for 6 months there, and I suppose after 6 months to go into the union, to get $4 an hour. So the son promised me, as a matter of fact, I'm doing business with the son now. The son promised me, but his father was an old-timer. When he came back from the country after the summer, he said to me, Mr. Anshel, it's very slow and I can afford to pay $4. I can give you $2 or $50. So I quit. I told him to give me a slip and go to employment. I didn't collect no employment. That was the second week in business.
Your own?
Schmatters, my own business. He called me back. He wants to give me anything. He was laying on the floor. Laying on the floor with me. Because they didn't believe it. They know that I'm a family man, I have to survive and to live. They didn't believe that I'm going to give up the job. Just simple. They give it up and I give them up. And from that time I went to the business and went through Harlem.
Went through?
Spanish Harlem.
Uh-huh.
I opened one store, and the one store I had 5. I took the whole family into it. I was in the business in 1977, 1978, as a matter of fact. When the blackout came, I was ruined, one of my biggest stores.
Yes.
Because there was everything there. I had the best jeans, the best, like at that time was Lee's, Wranglers, Bluebells. I mean, with names. So the Schwarz haben sich herangelassen mit der Polizei. I shouldn't say that because man hat ausgeräumt, man hat ausgeliehen, the big store just
cleared it out.
Ground. I came in the morning, I had nothing. But when you have your life, you can survive. Thanks God that I survive in different ways. That's another thing. So in 1977, I built up back the stores. In 78, there was a breakage between the family, but they want to stay in the business, and I had somebody already in Staten Island to go in construction. Construction-wise, was no construction going on, and no money to be made, make up a living even. But we have to take some steps. So I went in 78, and thanks God from that time, I'm all right. And my children are now in this business, all 3.
They are what?
In construction,
Yes.
building homes.
You have 3 children?
I have 3 sons and a daughter.
You have 3 sons and a
If
daughter?
I cannot make for a builder, if I got to be something else.
She might be sorry.
Yeah. Listen, she has a good life, thanks God.
Yes. Mr. Kantor, is there, when...
I want to bring out something. You mentioned why I didn't have plans to go to Israel. You see, there I was, thanks God, I did something and survived. I want to go to Israel in 1948, but I don't want to be from the first ones. I want to be the second transport, the third transport, the fourth transport. I'm going to go. I have no different place to go but to Israel. We couldn't go to the United States at that time, but they declared Israel for country. But my brother-in-law Saul, When the whole committee left to Israel, he was with them. I don't want to stay here. I don't blame him. I don't want to stay there too in Germany. He left. I said, you want to go first? Go. I don't want to go first. I gave him my furniture. I got a new bedroom set in my house because I know I'm not going to stay in Germany. I gave it to him. He loaded everything up. He went over there. And the minute he came down to Israel, he was a tourist. He was a big tourist at that time. You couldn't expect.
He was a what?
Tourist, problems.
Sure.
He started to sell everything what he had because he couldn't live. He couldn't get a job. He couldn't live. You got expected, coming all over people to a little country like this. Mm-hmm. No houses, no homes, So when he wrote us, I said already, at least let me wait. Let us establish. As a matter of fact, in 1956, we sent the money to me, bring him over to the United States. Because they couldn't live together. The sisters, the three sisters, they couldn't live separate. Every Friday night when we went down to eat a meal, we had tears coming down from our eyes, from our heart. Mm-hmm. That was the story because why I didn't. We planned to go. Mm-hmm. We planned to go, but on the other side you got to look. You're going with two children. What are you going to do there? And what kind of situation you're going to come in there? Everybody comes from a different town. And they bring everything together, and there was big transportation there. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, we didn't went.
Well, Mr. Kantor, I think the time is up, right?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to ask me?
Well, I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure there are many things still.
I have many things too, but you cannot go through. You cannot go through just without doing some work before just come out.
Yeah.
You want to show some of your pictures, maybe?
I don't know if my wife showed this. I don't think so. This is my brother Sam. And this is my wife, my little baby Eva. Mm-hmm. And this
you?
I'm you, yeah. This was 1947. This is me, my wife, with my little baby Eva. This is my brother Herman with his wife Laia. This is my baby Eva. This is my niece Blanche. And this is my little son Isaac.
And your wife?
And my wife. This is myself and my wife.
Same people. Very happy, nice.
Great.
Is it off the? Is it still on camera?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
This was that from 1947, 1948. Myself, my wife, my Eva, and my son Isaac. That's all.
Mr. Kantor, I have one other question. Is it
You want to see maybe the large pictures? The large pictures.
I want
for
to
now.
ask you something. I want to ask you.
Let them take this, and after this,
Yes, this is very important.
I'm going to go and be with you.
This is the current family.
Let me make it sure.
That's very good. You haven't changed so much. I see this one.
Okay?
You want to identify all the people?
This was in 1988. This is my daughter Eva.
Mm-hmm.
This is my son Isaac. This is my son Harry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my baby Teddy.
And who's the girl?
And this is my niece, her bas mitzvah.
Granddaughter.
My,
Granddaughter.
I know. My granddaughter, Amy.
Uh-huh.
This is my wife. And this is me.
Yes. Mr. Kantor, would like to just ask a few questions.
I will
just
get
in
to that one
closing.
second. I don't know, you can see this good or not?
Probably
Because
too
there's
small.
10 grandchildren here involved.
My God.
Should I say who's who? Or
Is it
you want a
possible
picture?
to see?
Huh?
If you want, we
Is it possible to see you?
can see that.
Yes?
This is my daughter Ruth with my little grandchild Ashley. This is my son Teddy. This is my son Harry with my little grandchild Jonathan. And Jody. And Stephanie. Okay, my grandchild Stephanie. Myself and my wife.
In the middle. You need glasses.
Okay. My daughter Eva and Jim, her husband. My grandchild William, Eva's son. My grandchild Tommy and Amy. My daughter Eileen and Isaac. So you got the whole thing.
Big family.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, thank you.
What I wanted to ask Mr. Kantor was, what was your, what led to your decision to do this interview?
You see, my son Isaac is working with the second generation. He just got in maybe 40 pictures. I'm talking about pictures, big pictures. Ghetto from Warsaw Ghetto, from Lodz Ghetto, from Kielce pogrom, and from Kielce Ghetto, and from Krakow, and from the Crystal Night, with the Jew stars, you know, that kind of thing happened 1936 in Germany, 37, 33, 36. What make me think, you see, my life, to my children I'm talking, I'm telling them stories, you know, but really to tell them nobody really can believe this. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable that in a generation from the 1920s, century from the 1920s, that something can happen like this.
Indeed.
So listen to me, something should be, we work on all kind of things that we want to live. We are in an age now that we are retired, I'm retired. And what I can live to be later something to show, or to be some witnesses, or to be something what really happened. It's going to come up, second generation, the third generation, the fourth generation, they got to know what's happened in this generation. But that really make me to come up.
Yes. Okay.
But that really make me to come up and to tell my story.
Okay. So we thank you very much for
You're
your
welcome.
very helpful interview.
I hope you got everything and I did everything.
You did everything
You
very
should
well.
know because you do that kind
Yes,
of work.
we
For me,
did.
it's the first time, you know.
Mm-hmm.